know what Wednesday felt like.
Well, we're going live right now, so we
That's
are
cool.
live. Just thought I'd
So I
let you
shouldn't
know.
say that I have no idea what we're about to talk about,
No, that would
and we're
be
just
so.
slanging from the hip here,
Yeah, that would be so on par for.
and we're producerless.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've done it. We have achieved Super Bowl week. I can't wait. I'm so excited to talk about this game. I can't believe it's here. I really can't. This is going to be a fun week at KC Sports Network, and we're kicking it off.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank. Member FDIC, our absolutely wonderful, incredible partners in possible here at KC Sports Network. I'm Kent Swanson. I'm here with Matthew Lane. Matty, how we feeling, man?
Ooh, we're feeling good. We got Super Bowl week is here. We here on the KC Laboratory are kicking off Super Bowl week. Nothing else is happening right now besides us talking about this game. We are the official kickoff to Super Bowl week right here, right now. Tuck is not with us. They are letting the animals run the zoo on this Monday. So we're ready. We are ready to go. I could not be more excited. I've been spending a lot of time. We went down to Dallas for the Shrine, and I spent all my time since then just doing draft stuff. I watched all the Shrine stuff I could, all the Senior Bowl tape that I had access to. Been getting a lot of grades going for the KCSN draft guide. You know, keep your eyes out for that. And so now I'm ready to turn back the page. Now it's time to get back into NFL football. It's time to start talking the Super Bowl, and what better time than to kick off Super Bowl week with us, Chiefs fans.
It is so, I don't know if it feels like it's so weird to me the third time around. And like, this sounds like anybody not being a Chiefs fan right now listening to this is going to sound like really arrogant and all this stuff. It just, I don't know, man. It's just so natural and comfortable being in this position. Like, the stress is not where it normally is for me. And it's not that I don't think that the Philadelphia Eagles can win this full game. I definitely think that that's in the realm of possibility. I think it's just the level of comfort within this game and within this media frenzy, seeing this team not play well at times and still find ways to win the Super Bowl. I think it's just really hard to get too high or too low about anything when it comes to this team right now. I think a lot of fans feel that level of calmness. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's just, I'm having a hard time getting too stressed about Saquon Barkley or, Jalen Carter right now. Not that they can't cause problems for the Chiefs, but I'm having a hard time just completely, feeling the same emotions that I might have felt, I don't know, before the first Eagles game that these two teams lined up and the Chiefs only had one Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's definitely it's different given the success the Chiefs have had lately, given kind of like the routine as somebody who's not only a fan of the team, but like, trying to cover the Chiefs and talk about the Chiefs all the time, and also the draft and the way all these things kind of happen back to back. There's definitely a routine now that I have settled into. So up until this point, like I was just saying, it hasn't been like the Super Bowl has been the first thing, even football related, on my mind. I thought college stuff. We were traveling, then thinking all about the college all-star games, watching them, catching up on any players that I maybe didn't get enough eyes on before that. It's like I kind of have a rhythm now leading to this point, and we're probably 2 or 3 days away before my mind really flips and is like, okay, now it's your favorite team is in the Super Bowl again. Let's start to build up those emotions. But it's just, there's a comfort level. This is, they're here all the time right now. We're doing it. Again, it's part of the routine. This is what happens year after year. This is like mentally built into the schedule right now going into the season, which is absurd to say. But like, it's just built in right now. So yeah, there's no nerves. There's no nervousness. I see like Eagles fans are great. And some of the ones I follow on social media, there's been people for already a week now posting the most in-depth film reviews and analytical looks into this game. And I'm like, y'all got 2 weeks to talk about this. Like, you don't got to come out and like blow your wad immediately, but it's just, for a Chiefs fan, we've been here. Not every other team's been like that right now. So I kind of get it, but it's been calm here.
I think it's also like kind of tricky to overanalyze these games, right? Because like it never feels like the storylines align with a lot of the things that happen, the realities of
Yeah.
those games, right? The storylines just don't seem to align with what we all anticipate things are going to happen. Like
What
that's where
changes? Yeah, what's changed from the end of the championship games until the start of the Super Bowl? It's going to make anyone's opinion change on the game. Not a lot, right? Like nothing that you can see in between there's really going to play a big role. So, like, really, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? And let me tell you what, that San Francisco, the first 49ers Super Bowl, we were down that rabbit hole, and even the Bucks one, and even getting back to the Super Bowl against Eagles, like, I'd been in there. We were hanging out there. We were in the trenches, but like now it's just kind of like, maybe there's other things that are probably a little bit more worth the time, and we'll take the teams a little bit more for what they are that we've seen.
It's like, what does Steve Spagnuolo have in his? It's like, it's more just like wondering what the change ups, what the curveballs are gonna be, and all that kind of stuff. We're later in the show, we're gonna talk a little bit about. We're gonna do a little draft of the 10 most important players for the Super Bowl, both
Let's go.
the Eagles. So we're gonna be doing that a little bit later. It is just it's scary for me right now to not have all these nerves. It's just like it's weird, and it's not comfortable for me to not be super nervous. And that happened that's how I felt walking into that Bills game too. I just like the same thing is just like it's just not numb to it, but just so much belief in what this team has done over the last few years that it's really hard to get too high or too low about stuff right now. And so that's just kind of where my head's at. I know, Maddie, you wanted to do something that I thought was really fun.
I got a couple things. Well, I got a couple things before we get into that. First of all, what would you trade for Myles Garrett? Go. We're current events. We're keeping it loose right now. If you say Myles Garrett's on the trading block, you're Brett Veach. The Browns call you up. They try to pull a Dallas Mavericks out of the blue and are like, "Hey, we want to trade you guys Myles Garrett. And we're not going to ask anybody else. What are you offering?"
2 1s, Felix, something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
2
1s,
like
the Frank Clark route.
Yeah, 2 1s, a 3 in Felix. Something crazy like that.
I wonder if it won't take that much. I wonder if it won't take 2 1s plus a player and another mid-round pick. I just don't know.
It's such a tough thing to try to place because the Chiefs, the value of their first round pick this year is so inconsequential.
And next year.
And no one's going to look at it and going, okay, I got the 32nd pick in the next 2 drafts. Like, what am I doing here? If I finally build this team back up, I've got to deal with Myles Garrett and Patrick Mahomes on the same team. So, like, come on. What about you?
I'm probably in the same line. We're giving up a first plus something else. If that's a first, no nerves yet. I saw, here was one, okay, would you give up a first and Karlaftis, who's coming up on a new contract as well for Myles Garrett? What would you do with that? If that was what they asked, they said, hey, we want a first and Karlaftis, we will give you Myles Garrett. Well, what say you?
Probably. I probably would do that. Yeah. I mean, George Karlaftis is going to be coming up relatively soon, right? And you're going to have to pay Myles Garrett. You might as well pay the best defensive edge. I'm team pay blue chips, man, and like Myles Garrett is the bluest of chips, and so that's where I stand on that. I don't know about you.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think I would take that one because Karlaftis is coming up on a new contract too. He obviously won't be as expensive as Myles Garrett would be during this trade, but Karlaftis isn't going to be cheap. Karlaftis is going to be expensive. You look at his rookie production and then you add in the playoff production, the playoff success. I don't think Karlaftis is coming in cheap. You're paying I think you're getting close to $20 million for Karlaftis per year. Myles Garrett will be more, but we're not talking like double or anything like that. So yeah, I think that would be worth it. I got another current enough event here. Cooper Kupp apparently is tweeting now. Grain of salt, it's just him tweeting it, but Cooper Kupp says that the team is going to seek a trade for him. Would you have any interest in trying to bring Cooper Kupp onto the Chiefs in 2025?
Mild interest, but not a ton.
He's more washed than DeAndre Hopkins. I'll say it. Watching him move, he might be more washed than DeAndre Hopkins right now.
He had some good moments in the back end of the season. And he looked a lot better. And he looked better at the end of the season than he did during the trade deadline.
Did the playoffs hit?
I think he's going to be, it'd take a. They don't really have day 3 picks. They have a 4th round pick. And like, I don't really know how much the Rams are actually going to get for him, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like that would just be like if somebody willing to just take on the salary and give them anything, maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I think it's just a tweet from him, like his own personal account. So who knows if that's like completely true? Maybe he's playing a little bit off of what's going on in the NBA with the Luka trade and trying to get, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's real anymore on social media. It could all be fake. But yeah, I just, I wanted to start with those two things. Really, because they were going around the world right now. They were going around the sports world. Final question. Final one. What would the trade offer have to be for you to trade away Patrick Mahomes like the Dallas Mavericks did to their entire franchise?
I think this is the dumbest thing you've ever asked on the show, and I refuse to answer it.
No, I need an answer.
I'm about to hang up. I'm about to hang up on this show is what I'm about to do. We did get a super chat here from Joseph Jackson.
Joseph bailed you out.
I do. Yeah, I refuse to dignify that question. And Joseph Jackson does ask this question. And thank you for the super chat. Just so you know, super chats do go to the KCSN Foundation. So if you guys are asking those questions with super chats, that's where that money goes. We try to put that back into our community. Quick question. Do we see the Eagles mimic what the Bills did in the third quarter where they flush Mahomes out and have their linebackers act as a spy / press room? Have to imagine they might do it quite a bit. Thank you, Joseph Jackson, for that question. What say you, Matthew?
The Bills didn't do it a ton, actually, for a team that did it a lot versus the Ravens. They didn't do it a ton against the Chiefs. So I don't know if that was part of the game plan, if the Chiefs stayed ahead of the sticks and didn't get into positions to use it. So I was surprised how infrequently the Bills did use it. Now, the Matt Milano sack on Mahomes, they did that. And Mahomes had plenty of time and space to just hang out deep in the pocket, and he tried to beat Milano to the edge and ultimately resulted in a sack. So it did work. Will the Eagles try it? I don't know. I don't know if that's in Fangio's kind of like his bread and butter calls. Fangio's pretty, I don't want to say stuck in what he does, but what he does has worked very well. They predominantly stick to what they do. I would almost be a little surprised if they go major with that. If they all of a sudden start just rushing 3 guys for this Fangio team and then having another guy sit there and spy. I will say, if you go back to some of those Broncos games early on when they still had like Von Miller or when they still had Bradley Chubb and stuff there with them, what the Broncos did, they were kind of the first team to do that like long backside stunt. So like they'd have their backside D tackle loop from the left side of the offense all the way out to the right side, like around the edge, and they would slant the other 2 players. So it would essentially accomplish the same goal. They were trying to flush Mahomes to his right where he's most comfortable, and they would have a long looper coming up over to contain. So it accomplished the same general goal as the spy did. It's just usually not the linebacker waiting only on that.
Hey, Milton Williams could be one of those guys that they're making that long looper. Yeah. That would probably be the best candidate for the long looper, I would imagine, if they're lining that thing up. So like that's a nice little that's a nice little wrinkle that they could potentially throw in there. Thank you to Joseph Jackson for that question. We appreciate that. Means a lot that you threw a little super chat. And again, that's going to the KCSN Foundation.
We might take some more questions at the end. I know I'm going to keep interrupting you. We might take a few more questions at the end of this. We don't really have a rundown now. No producer. They're just letting us run wild. So if we have some time at the end, we'll take some more questions out of the chat to round out the show later on.
Maddie did this segment. We've done it one time, and it was a lot of fun, and you guys had a great time with it. It's intrusive thoughts. And Maddie brought the idea of doing intrusive thoughts to the table today. And my first initial thought is I don't want to talk about any single negative, intrusive thought whatsoever. And Maddie said, no. These are all positive, intrusive thoughts today. During the early, during the season this year, we had some negative, intrusive thoughts, but we're so beyond that. Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. There's so much fun things on the line here. So we're gonna go a little positive, intrusive thoughts, just some positivity sneaking in, and I think it kind of speaks to the tenor of this team because I'm normally terrified to think about things positively, just in its entire just be so optimistic because I'm just as a Chiefs fan I have been hurt in the past and there's some scar tissue there, right? So it's I think it's natural for most fan bases to have that. Even though the Chiefs have just done everything to completely squelch everything. And I think we're getting closer to that because look how we all feel during the Super Bowl. But what if we just threw a few positive intrusive thoughts out there this week, early on in the week? And if you want to throw your own positive intrusive thoughts into the chat, we'll try to throw some of those up. But Maddie, why don't you kick things off?
Yeah. Well, and for those that weren't around for the first round of the intrusive thoughts, it's essentially just a thought in the back of your mind about the game or the Chiefs team where they stand right now that you don't necessarily believe, but you kind of do, right? It's not something you want to be on record saying this is definitely going to happen. You wouldn't predict it, but you kind of believe it might be a possibility. And so you can't hold us to this. No. But what if the Chiefs come out in this game, they get the ball first, they take the ball, they go score an opening drive touchdown, boom, 7-0. Come back out. Eagles try to run their offense. Spag says, I got something for you. We know you're going to try to run the ball over and over and over again. Boom, quick 3-and-out punt. Ball back to the Chiefs, another touchdown. They're up 14-0. The Eagles finally get the ball back again. Little bit of pressure, but it's not quite there yet. Force another punt. Chiefs get the ball back, already up 14-0. What at that moment happens? How nervous, how many bricks is Jalen Hurts shitting on the sideline knowing that he's about to have to throw the ball to keep up in this game? Like, how nervous is Sirianni going to be over there knowing like, oh man, I'm not coaching anything, but my coaching staff is going to have to get this team that wants to run the ball back from a potential 17, 21 point. I could very easily see this game snowballing very quickly to the Chiefs jumping out to a lead. And I do not think this Eagles team is built to play catch up against the Chiefs and this kind of and this matchup.
That is one of the prevailing intrusive thoughts for me as well. It maybe not the same script that you've kind of like laid out there, but it is very similar. It's like, what if the Chiefs withstand what I think will be a very high energy first quarter from the Philadelphia Eagles? A lot of young kids excited to be there, a lot of energy exerted by that team, and the Chiefs just are able to kind of, keep the offense for the Eagles at bay, drive down the field a couple times, even though the Eagles are just, hair on fire for the first 15 minutes of this game. What happened? Like this game doesn't have to be close. Like I do think that there's three scenarios that could happen in this game. I think it's there's a close Eagles win, there's a close Chiefs win, and then I think there's a Chiefs blowout. Comfortable win. Like I think those are the three scenarios. I don't foresee a scenario where the Chiefs would get blown out in this game. I only see mostly positive things from the outcomes of this game. I feel very good about it, and like I do think like there's like a, I do think there's a little bit of a chance that the Chiefs just kind of withstand an early barrage from the Eagles and are able to hold them off, and then it's just kind of good things from there on out. I did see. I saw some. Something from Alicia Marie here. Positive intrusive thoughts. A 4-peat. I mean, hey, look. There's so much focus on the 3-peat. The Chiefs take care of business on Sunday. Like, you know what? Why not just you can get greedy. Like the Chiefs are doing it right now. This is the farthest any team has ever got to doing it, and and so like, hey. Like maybe you don't stop there. I love that. That is it. That is the perfect intrusive thought right now. I love that so much.
Listen, it is. They gotta lock in. Like I feel like since last year's Super Bowl, it has very much been about the 3-peat, and so I think that explains some of the flat play, some of the ups and downs during the regular season. I think it also explains why. Yeah, they beat the Texans, and it was not like a nail biter, but it was a close-ish game. They beat the Bills, and everybody was excited. But again, it didn't feel like they just like there has been a clear goal at the end of the line here, and I think it's the 3-peat. Obviously, if they win it, yes, absolutely, get out there on the mic again and say 4-peat. But I think you'll see even more like just a bigger eruption of emotions than I think we saw even last year when they got the back-to-back after this one, because I do think this has been like a very specific goal for them. So yeah, I guess 4-peat would be amazing and on deck. I'm trying to look at some of these other ones in the chat. I got one more if we wait for some others to come in. Travis Kelce.
Go that was where I was going to go for it.
Travis Kelce has essentially the same game as he does last year, 9 catches, 90 yards, but has that big play at the end that kind of seals the game or wins the game for this team. The stat line isn't great. Mahomes' stat line as a quarterback's probably better. You know Mahomes is the more important player. But in the back of your mind, you're like, Travis Kelce's about to retire. This man is losing out on all these Super Bowl MVPs, all these things to Patrick Mahomes. What if Travis Kelce just kind of gets like the, not career achievement, but like you're really darn good and you play with Patrick Mahomes. So here's your Super Bowl MVP to cap off this three-peat before he retires and rides off into the sunset on the top of the world.
I wasn't going to go all the way to the MVP, but like, I think it was like, Travis, like, he's got something left, right? And like, this is the game that he's, stated that he's out, he's so locked in on, right? And so, maybe he's not, like, he had a very, middling, stat line against the Buffalo Bills. I don't think that's going to be the case. And like, I think, he had a lot of success against the Eagles. I know it's a different defense this time around, but I think Travis Kelce, can get that back seven of that defense if the Chiefs can kind of protect Patrick Mahomes. Like, I think this is a great opportunity for Travis Kelce to go out and kind of do his thing and be creative and make some plays in the passing game. Like, I don't think I'll say this. I think he's getting 2 for 12 or whatever he got in the first drive of the game. How about that? I think that's happening in this game. I think Travis Kelce is going to start hot. That is an intrusive thought for me. Here's another one. What if the Chiefs are really able to just stop Saquon Barkley? Like, I know like Saquon Barkley's, he talked about how like he knows the Chiefs having a lot of 100-yard rusher this game or this season. And look, the Chiefs have slowed down some very good running backs. Like, they shut Derrick Henry out to start the season. Hey, what if the Chiefs just do shut down Saquon Barkley and he's really not a factor in this game? That it doesn't bode well. I don't know if that leads necessarily to a blowout, but like, that bodes extremely well for the Kansas City Chiefs, so they're able to just simply stop Saquon regardless of hot start, slow start, game script, period. Just being able to stop Saquon Barkley goes a long way in this team three-peating.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, stats aren't really the spot for intrusive thoughts, right? Like, that's not what we're here for. But if you go look up the Eagles' success rate when running, it's in the top 10, but it's 9th. It's not like they are consistently crushing teams on the ground. It's the explosive plays. I heard Saquon Barkley has like 41% of this year's 60-plus yard runs. That's just insane. The amount of explosive runs he turns out is bananas. So if you limit those, I'm not saying you completely shut him down, but you can. There is a chance. There is a path to where the Eagles, just the run game isn't a factor. It's not a big factor. And I think that leads to potentially the Chiefs getting a lead, and now everything's on Jalen Hurts. And we know what happened in that last Super Bowl, but like, if the Chiefs slow down, not like completely stop, but just slow down Saquon Barkley, that Eagles team goes from kind of really scary to like, maybe not. So I like this. Those are the two big ones that I think that I had was just, what if, if the Chiefs jumping out to an early lead and making the Eagles play catch up, and how that might kind of tank this game real fast in terms of like a competitive edge. And then just, I can see a pathway where Travis Kelce, I don't want to say middling, good, but not great performance, kind of could steal an MVP from somebody that might be a little bit more, I don't want to say deserving, but like have a higher profile stat line or something like that, just because, the storylines and everything that would go along with it. Do you have any more?
No. So I said my piece. So we're going to take a break and we're going to draft the 10 most important players in the Super Bowl right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Thanks, everyone, hanging out with us tonight on Media Night. I know the Chiefs, I think, are like out there right now, probably, or getting pretty close to it out there on Media Night. So we appreciate you all hanging out with us. Haven't seen if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has said something stupid yet. But we're just kind of waiting to see. Chiefs are just getting on there right now. So we'll probably we'll keep an eye on some quotes from there. We thought it would be fun. This is a Matty Lane original. We're gonna do a draft of 10 players, 5 each, that are the most important players in this Super Bowl. It can be both teams. We can just kind of
not best.
Not best, just the most important. And so I think it'll be interesting to see kind of what comes out of all this. Matt, I'll give you the full. But you know what? I'll take the free space. You want me to take?
Okay.
You want me to take the free space?
Yeah,
I'll take the free space, and then we'll just kind of kick things off from there. I don't care most best and blah blah blah. The most important player is still Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes playing well in this game means bad things for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he might be, he's been an absolute machine during the playoffs, and he was unbelievable against the Buffalo Bills outside of one, mistake fumbling, that exchange with Isaiah Pacheco. But if he plays the way he did against the Buffalo Bills, the Chiefs are going to win this game. They have to turn him over. The Eagles have to win the turnover margin. Mahomes didn't put the ball at risk in the air. They had one fumble exchange. I think Patrick Mahomes is still the most important player in this game, and also the best. But I think things can start deviating sooner rather than later. But give me Patrick Mahomes with the first pick, and Maddie, the floor is yours, my friend.
All right, let's get a little weird. Right here at number 2, I think Mahomes was obviously the correct answer there. I'm going to get a little weird on this one though, I think, but I think it'll make sense. Give me, for the second most important player in this game, Cooper DeJean, slot for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know, and I get it. There's a lot of star power left on the board. I absolutely get it. But let's do 2 things. Cooper DeJean's very good at football already as a rookie, so we're putting that out there already. Number 2, the reason he makes this spot, the Chiefs live in yards after the catch. The Eagles have been pretty good at tackling in terms of after the catch. If there's one corner in the NFL right now that I think is right up there with Trent McDuffie in terms of blowing up screens specifically, his name is Cooper DeJean. You look at how the Chiefs like to function their passing attack right now where they've had success. It's a lot of slot wide receiver action. It's a lot of protected stuff with guys coming off the line of scrimmage behind another receiver so they get free releases, a lot of crossers. Yeah, they work in the Xavier Worthy whip routes and stuff like that, but it's a lot of stuff where you are stressing the slot corner, the safeties of the opposing team. That's going to be Cooper DeJean. So he's going to be put in situations where he's not only going to have to read stuff out properly and know where to be, he's going to have to make plays in the open field. He's going to have to tackle, he's got to be a sure tackler. It's a big stage for a rookie. I think if he has a, middling game or a subpar game, that it spells disaster for the Eagles. He's got to play great if they want to stop the Chiefs from running the offense that they have. So I'm actually going DeJean number 2 here. I have a couple other guys I could hear in this argument, but I think this is a pretty solid one.
I think it's a good one. And one of the biggest things as far as turnovers are concerned for the Chiefs is I worry the least about Patrick Mahomes, but I worry the most. You talk about all the things you talk about, wrecking the game from that perspective, but also making plays on the ball carriers. I worry about the ball security of some of the Chiefs receivers in this game a little bit here, and the Eagles have been exceptional with that. And Cooper DeJean is one of those guys that has been very good, in making challenging the football or teaming up with with that secondary. I think that's where there's some impact there that I worry about a little bit with Cooper DeJean as well. So that's a pretty good one. I'm going to keep just playing the offensive side of this, I guess, or the Chiefs offensive side of this. So we are 3 for 3 here. I think the second most important player, the most important player for me is Mike Caliendo. The biggest question, one of the biggest questions, for the Chiefs is how is this offensive line going to be able to handle a very good interior for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, and of course, their best interior defensive lineman, Jalen Carter. This is a very good interior. And, the Chiefs are rolling out a Joe Thuney at left tackle and Caliendo at guard, according to, Mahomes or Andy Reid kind of said, we're keeping this thing as, we're probably going to just roll with what we have and what we've been rolling with. If that's the case, Mike Caliendo becomes a massive factor in this game, because if the Chiefs are able to, kind of contain the interior of that defensive line from the Philadelphia Eagles, and Mike Caliendo is able to put together a good performance in this game, and help contain that interior, and especially in the run game too, being able to move guys in the run game as well. That's, I think, one of the biggest advantages outside of Patrick Mahomes playing well. And I think, Mahomes can overcome that interior offensive line. But if you want to talk about not blowout city, but if you want to talk about this team controlling the game, I think it starts with Mike Caliendo being able to protect along the interior and play his best football this season. So I think he's a crucial factor in this game. I think he's one of the biggest ones in this game.
No, he is. And it's worth noting, I was going to bring this up on Wednesday, but since Caliendo's coming up now, Jalen Carter actually plays 90% of his snaps over the right guard. He doesn't play over the left guard a ton. And can that change for the Super Bowl? Absolutely. Don't say you can't lock into it, but it's a pretty big sample size that Jalen Carter, he moves around. He'll play like actual defensive end from time to time. He just doesn't line up a ton as like a 3 technique over a left guard and attack a left guard one-on-one, or at least he hasn't this year. So it might just be a lot of Milton Williams there, and that's not an easy matchup. And that also means Jalen Carter's elsewhere. So that might even be the smarter thing for the Eagles to do. It's just worth noting. I know everyone's freaking out about Jalen Carter versus Caliendo, and I don't know if we get that direct matchup a ton because that's just not where he is traditionally lined up. But that's a good one. With Caliendo there. I'm also gonna go to the Chiefs offense. Guy that's been talked about already. Give me Travis Kelce. With the injury to Nakobe Dean for the Philadelphia Eagles, the area, especially that you want to attack this team in terms of like on offense, is going to be the spine of the defense. It's going to be the linebackers and the safeties and coverage. Zach Bond, phenomenal year, good athlete. He can make splash plays in coverage, but he is more of a rusher and more of a downhill linebacker than he is a coverage specialist or anything like that. The safeties, again, they can be good. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, maybe in his current state can slow down, maybe a little bit older Kelce. It's just, if there was a time for Travis Kelce to dial back into the prime years, if there was a time for Travis Kelce to whip out the 18.5-mile-an-hour run or whatever he had last year against the 49ers, this would be the game. Because just like last year, he's going to be going up against a backup linebacker named Oren Burks in coverage a lot of times. It's a guy that they kind of targeted last year to get that comeback going. And so, I'm sure Burks will want some revenge, but also you can play that you take advantage of that. I think Kelce will be in position because we talked about it. Cooper DeJean might be making plays on the outside, keeping some of the yak under control. They have good outside quarters and Slay and the Toledo rookie, Quinyon Mitchell. So the middle of the field might be where they have to attack him, and that's Travis Kelce's domain. So like if there was ever a time for him to come back, this would be the one.
So I think a lot of people would say like, hey, this is finally where Saquon Barkley comes off the board. But I actually don't think that's going to be the case here for me, believe it or not. And here's why. And like, I think we did the right thing here, drafting 4 players that affect the Chiefs offensive side of the football, both Chiefs or Eagles defense. Like, I think that's the right call. Just the way that this game plays out, I think a lot of it depends on if the Chiefs offense is able to do those things. I still think it's Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is more important to the success or failure of the Philadelphia Eagles, because I don't think that the Philadelphia Eagles can win without Jalen Hurts making plays. I know even if the Chiefs aren't able to stop Saquon Barkley at a high clip, and Saquon gets his, and Saquon still has, one of those games, I don't think that's enough for the Eagles to win this game. I think it still is going to require Jalen Hurts to play his best football since the last Super Bowl that these two teams matched up. And I think, he's going to be the deciding factor. And I think the Chiefs will do a lot to try to take Saquon away. And I'm not even convinced of what Saquon will do in this game. I think the Chiefs are going to, do what they've done a lot with good running backs and then force Jalen Hurts to beat them. And that's why I think Jalen Hurts is more important to this game and in deciding this game than Saquon Barkley is. It's still going to come back to the quarterback play. And if the Eagles get the best version of their quarterback in this game, they're going to be very difficult to beat like they were the last time that these two teams matched up.
I get it. I'll take Saquon Barkley.
There you go.
I'll do it. Oh man, I'll jump on that grenade. I understand the angle you're going for. Is like, yeah, if Jalen Hurts comes out and plays a really good game, that will go a long way in the Eagles being able to keep pace with the Chiefs. My thought, though, is if he comes out and plays a buns game, but Saquon Barkley does what Saquon Barkley's done and turn fine runs into great runs and put this offense on his back yet again, they don't need Hurts to do any more than what he has. Like, I understand he had a pretty good statistical performance against the Washington football team or the Commanders, but if you go back and watch early in that game, it was because kind of Saquon set him up to get that offense really rolling, and then he just took advantage after that. Then go watch the Rams game. He stunk. Like, he wasn't good. And who did they ride? They rode Saquon Barkley. So I think that this team, the Eagles team, can definitely win a Super Bowl on the back of their running back and their defense. And so we've had, a couple stuff talking about the Chiefs offense. Give me Saquon Barkley. There's a chance the Chiefs can have everything gapped sound. They can have everything gapped out. They can be ready to stop the run, and then they get reverse hurdled, or they get run over, or they just get left grasping for air. I just think that there's very few running backs in this league that can turn nothing into an explosive play. And he's the guy doing it better than anybody else right now in the NFL. So like, if he just happens to go off, he has 3-4 plays in this game that go on a highlight reel that are going to live forever. tough luck. Like, you're just going to have to deal with it. So you're going to try to bottle them up and just hope those plays don't come. So yeah, I will just take Saquon Barkley as being, the offense for the Philadelphia Eagles.
5 play. I mean, like, I'm not saying like he's not important, but like, I just 5 touchdowns. He's had 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games. He's averages 7.9 yards per carry. I will say in that Rams game, he had an unconscious game, and it still was very close to not being enough. The Rams were melting down left and right in that game, and it still wasn't enough. And so I don't know. Jalen Hurts was absolutely awful in that game against the Rams too. Like the Eagles have won 2 playoff games despite Jalen Hurts. And then last week, he played good against a bad Commanders defense. So I don't know. I get what you're saying too. And I'm not trying to diminish the value of Saquon Barkley either. I just think, if the Chiefs just avoid the explosives, if they can just avoid the explosives with him, I feel fantastic about it. If you tell me the Chiefs keep, if Saquon Barkley's longest run of the game is, we'll call it 29 yards. I'd say, Chiefs won. That would be my guess.
I mean, I don't even think he can have an 80-yard touchdown run, and I think it's fine. It's just, is it 1 or is it 5? Like that, is it 5 runs over 15 yards or is it 1? You know what I mean? That's what it is. It's how often are the explosives hitting? It's not, did they happen? It's just how often do they hit? So it's just that. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's not like here's the thing. This is the Super Bowl. Well, how do you say this? This is the experience from being in the Super Bowls. But like, I feel like we build players up to, like, Nick Bosa's gonna get 6 sacks, and AJ Brown's gonna moss Trent McDuffie for 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, and like we build up the myth of these guys, and it's like, yeah, I mean, Saquon had 3 against the Commanders, but I mean, that Commanders team kind of fell apart late, and I don't know. I just, I don't think he's getting 5 explosive runs, like, big explosive runs. Like, if he gets 2, that's what he did against the Rams, and that almost wasn't good enough against the Rams either, right? And it's not to diminish how great Saquon is. I just don't know if just Saquon's going to be enough for this team. That's all. Okay, it's my turn.
Second to last pick for you.
I know, and I've got it. I'm thinking hard about a couple. I'm trying to figure out if I'll go Jalen Carter. Carter for this one. He's the best defensive player for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's the guy with the kind of ceiling to wreck a game. And like, the only time the Chiefs have looked outmatched in a Super Bowl, the only time that they've lost a Super Bowl is when their offensive line couldn't protect a very good Bucs defensive line. And like, that might be the most negative, intrusive thought I have, is just, is that, but yeah, Jalen Carter is a game wrecker, and he has the kind of ability when he's locked in focused. I think he can really affect the game. Like, I also think it can work both sides, right? Like, I think the Chiefs frustrate Jalen Carter and wear him out early. Maybe he's not as valuable in the second half of this game. It's a big test for him. Like, this is a big opportunity for him to kind of, push aside some of the narratives about him over the course of his young career and some of the immaturity and things that have plagued him early on in his career. It's an opportunity for him to go out and kind of make a massive name for himself and put himself on the national stage as the guy that, really, affected Patrick Mahomes and helped the Eagles kind of kill the three-peat. So Jalen Carter is the biggest ceiling player for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's also their best player. And if he just comes out and has a monster performance, I think it does not bode well for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he's the one that can really wreck this game for them.
Yeah, that's a good one. I safe and not in a bad way, right? It's like, if you're looking for a guy, I think he needs 3 pressures in this game, and he ties Aaron Donald for the most in a single postseason. Now, he might have played an extra game than what Donald did that year. I don't remember if the Rams had the 1 seed, so they had a bye, but like, that's still ridiculous, right? Like, that's crazy. That's more than Chris Jones had last year, and he was like tied for second last year all time in pressures in a postseason. So he's already above Chris Jones there. He needs 3 in this game to tie Donald. That's crazy company to be in. He's got a matchup against, whether it's Caliendo or Trey Smith, that's probably, decent enough matchups that he can leave a mark on this game. Hey, guess what? I'm going to go with Chris Jones.
Good.
as the we got way too far. I'm not talking about Chris Jones. I think it's kind of. I think something being slept on in this game because the Chiefs' offensive line has been in turmoil all year long. Because they are seen as a weakness because Caliendo and the Tooney swapping and stuff, and they're a little wonky over there. Like I think people are zeroing in on Jalen Carter versus Caliendo or Milton Williams versus Caliendo or whoever versus Jawaan Taylor, and people are leaving out the fact that like, hey, the interior offensive line of the Eagles, while good, isn't great like it has been in the past. Like you look at what they've given up. They've given up the interior offensive line has given up 4 sacks in the postseason so far. They've combined to give up over 20 pressures on their own. And that was like with guys being healthy to start. And now all of a sudden you have Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson dealing with injuries. I mean, Chris Jones is going to have some matchups against Mekhi Becton. And like Becton's had been great as this guard, project for the Eagles. Guess what he still struggles with? Consistency. And guys with speed. And Chris Jones has a lot of consistency and speed. And Jurgens, while great, he's now got to deal with Spags throwing a bunch of blitz looks at him and stuff. Because guess what? Jalen Hurts ain't handling those pressure or those protection calls. It's all on Jurgens. It's no longer Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce beat himself up because he missed a couple against Spags in that first Super Bowl. You think Jurgens is going to get not just miss a couple, but a few? How many times does that leave Chris Jones one-on-one with Becton, Dickerson himself? Like, I can just see a path to where Chris Jones says, hey, Jalen Carter, you're great. You're next. You're the up-and-coming guy, but it's still me right now. I was supposed to be the next, Aaron Donald. Once Aaron Donald retired, I am the guy that's stepping into that limelight. You can wait a couple more years. So give me Chris Jones. Again, what I think is an interior offensive line that he actually matches up pretty well against.
I really, really want to pick. Well, no, we'll see if you pick
something fun.
I'll do an honorable. I'll do an honorable mention.
I'm not. Okay, we can do that, but I'm not going to pick who you. I have such a sleeper.
I have a sleeper too, but I also think AJ Brown's probably more important to this game than my sleeper pick is. And like big physical receiver can give the Chiefs some problems. He gave the Chiefs some problems the last time that these two teams matched up in the Super Bowl. And like I know both of these receivers, both him and Smith are, Devontae Smith are both challenges in their own right. But like I think AJ Brown is a difficult matchup for the Chiefs, and he's proven to be in the past. And I think one of the biggest, advantages that Jalen Hurts has when he's not on his game, and even if Jalen Hurts doesn't play well, one of the guys that can still do something with whatever Jalen Hurts is throwing up to him is AJ Brown. And he's a guy that can win at the catch point, and the Chiefs have proven to have some issues with that here in the past. So even if Jalen Hurts just kind of gets put in a bind and isn't playing well, but just has to throw something up, like I think AJ Brown is someone that presents a lot of problems for the Chiefs in the back end of their defense. So give me AJ Brown as my fifth most important player on my draft.
I get it. I think if we were doing best, he obviously would be going off the board, and like he can absolutely take over this game. I can also see a path where they're just like, hey, Trent McDuffie, who's really good, is on him a lot. Why take that chance and not just go to Devonta Smith over and over again, and you get a crazy Devonta Smith? Like there's a backup plan if you don't want to have to rely on AJ Brown. That's why he wasn't on my list for the most important. I get it. And if he has a big game, it probably does sway things. It's just, I don't think they have to. And I guess speaking of don't have to, maybe this guy isn't a don't have to, but I also watched what the Chiefs did against the Buffalo Bills, and I kind of think they have to. Juju Smith-Schuster. Give me my dog out here coming up with the 60 yards on the 2 catches, hitting him over the middle of the field. We talked about the matchup against DeJean already. Well, guess what? Guess who's the best blocker in that Chiefs wide receiver room? Guess who's the guy that springs all of the screens, the jet sweeps, the little outlet passes? It's number 9. It's Juju Smith-Schuster. He's their best blocker. They use him as a weapon there. And then if you go back and watch the Bills game, hey, that dig route he ran for his second catch, that was one of the better man-beating routes that anybody for the Chiefs team ran in that game. He got open coming out on the inbreaker against the blitz. Like, I just think that there is space for a guy that has the trust of Mahomes and understands where to be, especially if you get a typical Fangio zone-heavy attack. And maybe I picked Travis Kelce earlier, and now I pick Juju. You can have an idea of where I think the Chiefs are going to attack and what they're going to see defensively. But if you get a lot of eyes on 87, that does leave space for Juju Smith-Schuster to take over. So just in terms of the blocking, being a second reliable guy on some third downs, I think we could see another game where he has more snaps and probably a couple more surprising catches than we think. And if he has a bad game because the Chiefs can't win, no. But I think the offense gets a lot more difficult if he's not making blocks outside, if he's not providing a second kind of physical possession type wide receiver presence over the middle of the field, because DeAndre Hopkins hasn't done that for them lately. Like, they don't have another guy to do that. Noah Gray's kind of not fallen off, but he hasn't been heavily utilized in this offense lately as they've kind of shifted back away from the 12 personnel. So they're going to need somebody else that's willing to do the dirty work, and that's Juju Smith-Schuster. So big game from him, big offensive performance.
He outsnapped Noah Gray. He outsnapped Pacheco. He outsnapped Nuke and Justin Watson combined this last game, and he looked good doing it too. Like, Juju, like, we probably aren't talking enough about I'm glad you brought him up, because we probably haven't spent enough time talking about Juju and the fact that, like, oh, by the way, he just like turned into the best version of himself in the playoff, in a playoff game, and looked as good as he has all season. It's, maybe a little bit of load management there during the season, but like, he was outstanding in this game against the Buffalo Bills. So like, we probably should be talking a little bit more about the fact that he was the third wide receiver in snap counts, looked like he was on the same page as Patrick Mahomes, cooking Kyrie Elam, running good rest. Like, we probably
second most impactful wide receiver. I mean, he had a bigger impact than Hollywood Brown did. Like, he played better than Hollywood Brown did. Like, it was a good game, man. He played a good game.
He did. And so, like, maybe we should be spending a little bit more time talking about that. Like, he is a good fit for this Eagles game again. So I like that. Do you have an idea of who my honorable mention was going to be? I think you probably do.
Maybe I want to shout out Pat Ryan, Eagles fan, in the chat. He did say this. I just want to respond to it. One, no, please hang out and lurk all you want. You're right. Jalen Hurts has been very good at protecting the football. So like, I don't think that the Chiefs are just going to get a bunch of turnovers from him in this game. I don't think Kent does either. So like, I don't think that's the expectation. I also don't know if I'm scared of him putting the offense on his back if he has to, but we will see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
My phrasing on throwing it up was more just like, he's going to go outside the numbers and give, an AJ Brown a chance to make a play. Like, if you're
one or
getting
two
beat
a game
with the blitz, like, you're still going to get those chances, and the Chiefs are going to have to hold their breath against AJ Brown. So that's all.
Yeah. Mike Pennell. That's my guess of who you were going to go with, because he was on my list. Because the Eagles don't do fullback runs. So while people are always going to pick the linebackers, I think it's just, can Mike Pennell sit in the middle, eat up blocks, not get pushed around? Like, judging by your face, it's not Mike Pennell. So I
am going to pick the linebacker, and like, I feel like the Chiefs have weaponized the coming out party for Leo Chanel the last time that these two teams matched up, and like, I know like some of that can be personnel dependent, but like, they might even get into some 3-down looks just to get Leo Chanel on the field. Honestly, they might get into a 3-3 look just to try to get him involved if the Eagles play personnel to try to keep Leo off the field. Like, he wrecked the game. Like, he was an impactful player, not wrecked, but he was an impactful player in that game the last time that these two teams matched up. And like, I think he's a player that the Chiefs want to try to get on the field. He's been that to this team in the past. I mean, what he did for, the game against the Ravens, like, he was changing the line of scrimmage and walking a guard back. And like, I think guys like, the interior can get got, they can't handle the power of a Leo Chanel. That's what makes him such a unique player. So like, I think the Chiefs will try to disrupt him and try to reduce the space for Saquon Barkley before the open field. I think that's something the Chiefs will try to do. And one of the ways to do that, compact it, is, change the line of scrimmage with Leo Chanel a little bit. So he's my honorable mention. So I guess he's number 6 really is what he is, but I don't care. If you've got another one, I guess we can just let you have that too. Cause
I did have an honorable mention too. I was kind of going back and forth between him and Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, entirely different. But like, when you watch the Chiefs lately, when they do need to draw up a play for a specific player, it's the rookie. They still do it with Travis Kelce some, but not as much, because he's at this age, he hasn't been quite as reliable. So when it's 3rd and 5 and they have to drop a play, they are looking to get one player isolated for a look. It's been Xavier Worthy a lot more often than you would think for a guy that's a gadget player, for a guy that's a rookie wide receiver that weighs, $150 or whatever everybody wants to say. So maybe it's not a huge stat line because I don't know if you're going to hit the big explosive plays. Again, the Eagles are great at tackling in the open field. The Chiefs don't push the ball downfield well, but a couple 3rd and 5 conversions, whether it's on the crossers, whether it's on the whip route that he is now apparently beating everybody on. I just think that you're going to have a couple big impactful plays from him. And I am going to give one more, I think, from the Eagles side on this too. Nolan Smith, we didn't talk about, but Nolan Smith, I think, is big because we talk about the Chiefs with rush lane integrity a lot. The Eagles did a good job against Daniels this past week, but Mahomes is like a different animal. He doesn't like hit a drop and immediately look to scramble in the same way. So when you speed up Jalen Daniels, he's going right away. He's not immediately trying to like look and poke and prod around. So it's either he runs or he doesn't. Mahomes is a lot more calculated and slow plays what he's doing. So if you do lose your rush lane integrity as he slow plays stuff, you will give up chunk runs. We saw it against the last time these two teams played. I think Nolan Smith's playing great football here in the playoffs. If he does a good job holding his rush lanes, not getting out of place, trying to get up the arc and beat Tooney and Juwan Taylor too often and surrendering up like that B gap, I think that'll play a big part. So like he's got to be on his P's and Q's there.
Man, I can't wait for this game.
I know.
I can't wait to preview it. It's going to be a lot of fun to do that on Wednesday, but make sure you're checking everything we have here on KC Sports Network this week. BJ Kissel, Tucker D. Franklin, Haley Lewis are all boots on the ground in New Orleans. So we are going to have some coverage from
Only one of them has boots.
That's going to do it for this episode of the KC Laboratory. Check everything we got going on. Thank you all so much. We love you.
From Radio Row.
We appreciate you. We'll catch you later.
That was perfect. Just
Tucker.
absolutely shut him down.
It's Tucker, right?
No.